I think I found my niche way earlier than I knew I had. Always loved to draw, always loved to paint. So it wasn't until I got to high school where I really started to acknowledge that and let it flourish. I pretty much take the influences that I see in my environment. I've traveled to Africa twice, so that has heavily influenced my artwork as well as my jewelry. So I try to incorporate a little bit of culture and tradition into both. I love doing figurative work, which is basically painting people. My people inspire me, to be frank. So that's where I get my inspiration from. That's what moves me. That's what makes me feel good. So I would say 90% of my work, those are the subjects. This piece, this is actually probably one of my favorite paintings. I think it's my favorite less because of the content, but more because it was a transitional process for me as an artist. Prior to this, I worked kind of flatly, just in terms of the figure. Like, a lot of my figures didn't really have much dimension or life. So I think with my guidance at Morgan, some of the professors that, who kind of took me under their wing, helped me to really get better technically. It's basically just inspired by an image that I found of a Maasai woman. I just thought the look on her face was so intense, and she was just concentrated yet enjoying life, and just gave off a really strong aura. So I decided to paint her. I also decided to experiment with different skin tones. So you see, it's not her naturalistic skin tone, it's purple, but it still worked. That's the figure in the foreground, and as far as the background symbol is the Sankofa, which is a Ghanaian symbol, and it basically stands for knowing your past to get to your future. So I thought the figure with that particular symbol kind of went hand in hand, and that was the result. I think it was my upbringing as well as traveling abroad to Africa that really, inspired me to kind of use that as the majority of my subjects, or just the concepts, or the kind of vibrancy or the feel that we have in our music, and the patterns that you see. So I try to incorporate a little bit of all of that. Initially I started off as just strictly fine art painter. There are a lot of different, for those who don't know, there are a lot of different genres or concentrations within art. I guess after Morgan, I started to experiment more with mixed media as well as painting on paper. So once I started to experimenting with painting on different surfaces, I started to incorporate other things. So right now I'm kind of experimenting with acrylic-based spray paint, as well as manipulating paper and making stencils and things of that nature. Recently, I've been extremely interested in patterns, hence the Indibele sand painting. So I just started making stencils to make my own patterns. So I did that with it's called a Duralar, so it's like a stencil making material. And that was used to not only make the patterns, but to make the stencils of the images too. So basically the image is a photo that I actually have of a Maasai lady kissing her baby. And I used that image to make the stencil, and then to kind of play with the figure along the patterns, and to play with color as well. That's why it's so many colors going on. So this was just kind of experimentation piece. And the city it's inspirational, it's motivating. I always say I create art to make us aware of our own potential and to motivate us to do positive things. So.